"Hal, don't forget to bring the brooch I had made for Gwen when you come." I sent a text to my husband and was immediately whisked away by Gwendolyn. She's not only a crucial business partner but also a longtime friend. So, I put a lot of thought into her wedding gift, commissioning 2 pink diamond brooches. However, when my husband, Henry Hal Sullivan, arrived, I noticed his assistant wearing one of them. 1. Explain why the gift I gave Gwendolyn is adorning your assistant's cuff, I asked, suppressing my anger, stepping forward slowly, and smiling faintly. Hal was taken aback, turning to look at his assistant, Ashley Carter, with surprise. He then said, "I'm sorry, I was too busy at the time. Ashley asked me for a brooch, and I didn't pay close enough attention before giving it to her." "Have her take it off somewhere private," I said softly. Hal nodded, but before he could speak, Ashley interjected, her voice loud. "I'm sorry, Miss Sterling. I didn't know this brooch was so important, or I wouldn't have asked Hal for it." Ashley's voice was loud enough for everyone at the wedding reception to hear. All eyes turned to see Ashley removing the brooch from her chest. "I'm sorry, Miss Sterling. I'll return it to Ms. Ainsworth right away," Ashley said, looking aggrieved. "Gwendolyn, my friend of many years, couldn't resist embarrassing me a little. Keep it. I, Gwendolyn Ainsworth, never touch anything someone else has used." Her words were sharp, but I didn't even have the right to be angry, because this whole thing was my fault. I could only force a smile. "Gwen, I'll find you something even better later. Make it double," Gwendolyn said with a hearty laugh. Her earlier words expressed her displeasure and were meant to save face. This playful remark now was to save my face. I breathed a sigh of relief. It wasn't that I was afraid of Gwendolyn, but causing a problem on someone's wedding day was truly inappropriate. Then, I took Hal's hand and Smee led as we walked towards a corner. Hal remained poised and composed, but his palms were sweating. We sat down, shrouded in shadow. We promised before we got married that even if we weren't in love, we couldn't betray the marriage for the sake of the Sterling Sullivan family's interests, especially not in public. "What have you done?" As I finished speaking, I shook off his hand. Hal quickly grabbed my hand and said, "You've misunderstood, Sarah. Ashley is just my assistant." "Hal, are you stupid, or do you think I am?" I asked. "She just graduated from some no-name college, and her major isn't even relevant to your work. How could she be your assistant? I can see through it, and so can everyone else. What do you think they'll think?" I frowned. Hal's face paled slightly, and he pursed his lips. "She's my classmate from college. We get along, and I have nothing going on with her. We just chat when I'm bored." Was that really it? I still felt uneasy. Although our marriage was a business arrangement, we'd been married for many years. We might not have passion, but we had developed affection, at least a familial concern for each other. But I knew Hal's character. He would never have gotten close to a woman before. And he chose to ignore my last question. "Then ask your classmate if she's really naive and clueless or if she deliberately embarrassed me in public to provoke me," I said, trying to keep my tone calm. Hal seemed displeased, frowning slightly. "Sarah, don't talk like that. I don't like it." "I've changed almost everything you don't like," I replied. "Now, I don't like your classmate. Will she disappear?" I asked. Hal suddenly released my hand, his voice turning cold. "Sarah, does being married to you mean I have no freedom?" "Okay, I understand your attitude. Never mind this question." I nodded, got up, and said, "Think about it. If you have other ideas, tell me in advance, because we can get divorced, but untangling our business interests with the Sterlings won't be so easy. I need to prepare." There was nothing more to say. The old Hal was always self-disciplined. His drivers, bodyguards, assistants, all men. Especially in front of me, he was always very careful in how he interacted with any woman. That was the self-cultivation of a high-society young master, a quality instilled in him from childhood, etched into his very bones. But now, he had made an exception for Ashley, which was enough to prove she was special. Hal seemed surprised that I would say such serious words, and he hesitated for a moment before chasing after me. His steps were a little hurried, lacking his usual elegance. He grabbed my hand, trembling, his voice anxious. "Don't talk nonsense. I wouldn't have feelings for anyone else. I really just need a friend." I stopped, glanced at him, and said, "Do I have any close male friends?" "You." Hal was stunned for a moment, then said, "Just because you don't have any doesn't mean I can't, right? I don't have very close male friends because it's too easy to be misunderstood. I'm protecting our marriage," I sighed. "Okay, Hal, let's not talk about this anymore. It's Gwen's wedding today. Cooperate, and we'll talk about any problems at home." Hal nodded, but he held my hand even tighter. He was nervous, but what was he nervous about? Was it because I had hit on his special treatment of Ashley? What I didn't expect was that Ashley would cause even more trouble. Too, as the wedding host was working the crowd, Ashley suddenly shouted, "Ms. Ainsworth, you said you don't use things that others have used. I feel like you're lying because, as far as I know, your husband has had a girlfriend." In that instant, the entire ballroom was in an uproar. My head felt like it had exploded. The atmosphere at the wedding reception turned icy. Gwendolyn and her husband on stage looked ashen. Gwendolyn's husband took the microphone from the wedding host, trying to maintain his elegance. "I can't let my Gwen lose face, so the wedding is postponed. Please be patient. I'll bring everyone I've been rumored to have had an affair with to prove that Gwen is my one and only." Gwendolyn's gaze landed on me. "Sarah, since the person raising these questions is close to your husband, you'll cover the cost of Richard's clarification." At that moment, my face burned. Gwendolyn's words were like slaps across my face. Especially the phrase "close to your husband," which was tantamount to saying I'd been cheated on. But I was in the wrong. Richard also looked at me deeply. "Sarah, what's going on with you? This isn't like you to make such a mistake." Meanwhile, Ashley hid behind Hal, looking aggrieved. "Hal, did I say something wrong?" But what I said wasn't wrong. Miss Ainsworth's husband did have a girlfriend. I saw it on Weibo. Hal's face was pale, but he showed no anger. In fact, he seemed to want to protect her. Seeing this, the way others looked at me became even more intriguing. My husband was protecting a woman who was clearly provoking me, making me look like a fool. "Tear out her tongue," I said in an icy voice. Nearby, my bodyguards immediately stepped forward. But Hal opened his arms and shouted at me, "Seraphina Sterling, have you lost your mind? Ashley just doesn't understand that the entertainment industry needs to create scandals. She misunderstood Richard. She just doesn't understand. Why are you being so cruel?" No one seemed to expect him to defend her so openly. Didn't he realize that his protection was an insult to me? Gwendolyn on stage suddenly laughed. "Is that the point? Even if Richard flirts around, anyone with half a brain wouldn't question it at an event like this. Hal, this damsel in distress you're harboring is trying to embarrass me and provoke your wife, and you're still defending her? What, does the DC social scene princess, Seraphina Sterling, look so pathetic to you that she can be humiliated at will?" Richard stepped forward, took Gwendolyn's hand, and didn't say anything, but there was an air of menace about him. I could only shake my head and smile bitterly, walking slowly onto the stage. I took the microphone from Gwendolyn and faced everyone. "I, Seraphina Sterling, officially announce that I will be divorcing Henry Hal Sullivan." With that, I stepped off the stage. The crowd gasped. But this was the only way to make Richard and Gwendolyn less embarrassed. As for Hal, he had gone this far, so there was no point in continuing this marriage. Hal shook his head. "Sarah, what are you saying? How can you treat divorce like a game? Ashley is just my classmate. I don't have anything going on with her." "Shut up." I glanced at him and saw Ashley smiling at me. She thought she had one. How ridiculous. I walked past Hal, shook off his hand, and patted Ashley on the shoulder. "Little sister, this is not how you play the high society game." With that, I left with my bodyguards. And the wedding could not continue today. Hal shouted after me, "Sarah, you've really misunderstood. You don't know how much I love you." This time, he didn't bother with Ashley. But what did it have to do with me? As for him saying he loved me, it was laughable. 3. As I walked out of the ballroom, my phone was already ringing. It was my father calling, and I was getting flooded with texts, including from Hal's parents. I took a deep breath, rejected the call, and said to my assistant, reply to my family and tell them I can handle it. Then, I walked straight towards the parking lot. But Hal still chased after me. He abandoned all pretense of elegance, grabbing me and pulling me towards his car. There were too many people around, and I didn't want to make a scene, so I shook my head at my bodyguards. I habitually sat in the back seat because the passenger seat was always for the assistant. But I saw a photo booth picture on the back of the passenger seat. And the photo booth picture was of Hal and Ashley. Although they were keeping their distance, Hal was smiling very brightly, a genuine smile I had never seen before. Hal sat in the driver's seat, fumbling to start the car. Sarah, it's really not what you think. Actually, I've been meaning to tell you, I've always. Stop, I said rudely, kicking the back of the passenger seat hard. Hal was startled and slammed on the brakes, turning back to look at me with tears in his eyes. I crooked my finger at him. Come here, take a look. Hal looked bewildered, leaning closer to see. Then, his face paled even more. It's not like that, Sarah. Let me explain. I always wanted to take one of these when I was a kid, but I never did. I saw one on the street the other day, and I wanted to try it. Then Ashley insisted on taking a picture together. Look, Sarah, we kept our distance, Hal explained hurriedly. I closed my eyes, not wanting to say anything more. My mind was too messed up. Because I suddenly realized that I cared about Hal more than I thought. After so many years of marriage, I had already fallen in love with him without even realizing it. But now that I knew, it was all meaningless. Sarah, look, I'm smiling so happily, but it's not because I took a picture with Ashley. It's because I thought it was so novel. I'd never done it before, so I was so happy. Actually, I thought about asking you to take one with me, but we're both so busy, and I was worried you'd think I was being childish, so I didn't dare ask. Hal was still explaining, very agitated and nervous. I shook my head. Hal, why can't you grasp the main point? Does any of this matter? None of this matters. When you brought a woman who's not suitable to be an assistant into your life, you were already offending me, because there have been rumors going around that you're keeping a damsel in distress. I didn't bring it up because I trusted you. He looked at me in a panic, seemingly afraid to. Oh, hear what I was going to say next. I continued, but what have you done? You gave her such an important gift. You know, as an assistant, she shouldn't even have been able to touch such an important gift, but she did. At the wedding, she embarrassed Richard and Gwendolyn one after another, and you were still defending her, which is tantamount to admitting that you have a special relationship. It's not like that. Hal explained through tears. I sighed. Okay, Hal, there's nothing wrong with admitting it. After all, we have a marriage of convenience with no emotional foundation. You've never been in love before, so it's normal to be smitten. I choose to respect that, so let's both save face and have a peaceful breakup. No, that's not true, Hal said, shaking his head and crying. I'll break off all contact with her right now. Please, don't talk about divorce anymore, okay? At that moment, Hal's phone rang. He glanced at it, and his expression changed. I knew it must be Ashley calling. So, I didn't say anything, just watched him to see if he would answer it. Hal looked at me apologetically and said, I'll explain things to her. But as soon as he answered the phone, he exclaimed in alarm, Don't be afraid, I'll be right there. Then, he hung up and said to me, You should get out of the car. Ashley's in trouble. 4. How laughable. I had actually considered giving him another chance. It seems there's no need. I gave him a deep look and said, I'll draft the divorce papers and send them to you. With that, I got out of the car. I don't want a divorce, Hal said, driving away. He didn't want a divorce, but he was going to see another woman. Did he even know what he was doing? I sighed, reached into my pocket, and wanted a cigarette, but I didn't have any. Because after we got married, Hal had said that he didn't like the smell of smoke and hoped I wouldn't smoke when I came home. I said, if you don't like it, I'll quit. He said, apologetically, you don't need to quit. Just don't smoke at home. You can't avoid it when you're out socializing. I touched his cheek and said with a smile, Hal, even though we have a marriage of convenience, now that we're married, I want to be good to you, so you can tell me anything you don't like, and I'll try my best to accommodate you. He hugged me tightly and lowered his head, saying in a very youthful and emotional tone, Sarah, I've never been in love. I don't know anything. Please bear with me. Then, I closed my eyes. I will never forget our wedding night. He cried, and I didn't know if he was crying tears of joy or because of this loveless marriage. I felt so sorry for him, vowing to treat him well, even if there was no love. Only now did I realize that a woman's love is sometimes very simple. This woman gave him everything, so I should love him well. That's a woman's purest love. It's just too late. At that moment, my car pulled up to the curb. The assistant in the passenger seat got out and handed me a cigarette. I took a deep drag. It had been a long time, and it went straight to my head. Miss Sterling, shall we? The assistant asked. I sighed and said, back to the office. Now that I was getting divorced, I needed to start untangling our business interests with the Sterlings, and I needed to prepare for that. I worked late at the office before finally heading home. When I walked in, I saw Hal asleep on the sofa. He heard my voice and quickly got up, running over to me. Sarah, why aren't you answering your phone? I ignored him, dodging him, and went to the bar cabinet for a drink. Your stomach isn't good. You shouldn't drink, Hal said, running over and cautiously reaching out to tug at my sleeve. I dodged him, keeping my distance, leaning against the bar as I poured a drink, feeling exhausted. Not keeping Ashley company? Sarah, don't talk like that. She called me earlier, saying someone was following her and that she saw someone with a knife. She just offended Gwendolyn and Richard. I was worried it was someone they sent, so I had to go. Hal explained. I smiled faintly. We've known Richard for at least 7 or 8 years. You should know what kind of person he is. He wouldn't resort to such dirty tricks. And Gwendolyn, we've known her since we were kids, and you're even closer to her. You should know she wouldn't bother with such methods. That young lady's methods were much crueler. Someone had once harmed her, and she had spent half a year plotting her revenge. She created many coincidences to have the person meet a big boss from some company, thereby getting an opportunity to develop abroad. Once that person was abroad, during their first vacation shopping trip, they encountered a $0 purchase and were shot dead by a black guy. That was Gwendolyn's style. Hal said, I can't worry about that. Stop. I know you care about her a lot. I shook my head. You should also know what kind of person I am. I won't change my mind. We're definitely getting divorced. Are you leaving, or am I? Sarah, you. I didn't give him a chance to finish, striding towards the door. Don't say anything more. Let's leave each other with some dignity. 5. That night, I returned to the Sterling family estate. My parents were very concerned about me and said my in-laws wanted to come and see me. But I didn't agree. I spent some time comforting my parents. Our Sterling family and the Sullivan family have been close for 3 generations. But in the previous 2 generations, there had never been a marriage alliance. Hal and I got married because our businesses had reached a bottleneck and were being besieged by competitors. To be precise, the Sullivan family was on the verge of collapse and needed the Sterling family to bail them out, which led to this marriage. Now that the Sullivan family had overcome the crisis, the Sterling family could withdraw. My parents still respected me a lot. After all, the family business was thriving under my leadership, so they had nothing to worry about. That night, I thought a lot. I sorted out my feelings for Hal. Our marriage had lacked too much passion. You could say that Hal and I never had a dating period. Before getting married, I had had boyfriends and plenty of relationship experience. But Hal had always been very self-disciplined and had never even had a girlfriend, so I understood his infatuation with Ashley. But understanding didn't mean forgiving. My greatest kindness was not hating him. And I had a lot to do next. Richard and Gwendolyn were also from high society, but I had indirectly ruined their wedding, which I had to make up for. I could only make up for it through our business collaborations. Of course, Richard and Gwendolyn weren't greedy people, but I had to let everyone know that I was making amends, which was like apologizing face to face, giving us both a way out. Otherwise, too much gossip would inevitably lead to resentment. I went to sleep very late and woke up feeling groggy. I skipped breakfast and went to work. But as soon as I arrived in front of the Sterling Corporation building, I saw a crowd of people gathered at the entrance. I walked over and saw Ashley kneeling there. She was wearing shorts and a tank top, with brambles tied to her back. Was she putting on a public apology, with a self-deprecating gesture? I walked over, frowning as I looked at her. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Ms. Sterling, I know I was wrong. Really, I really know I was wrong. Hal and I really don't have anything going on. Please don't misunderstand. So, can you please not send anyone to kill me?" Ashley never failed to shock. I laughed because I saw many suspicious people filming in the crowd. I knew without a doubt that she wanted to pressure me with online public opinion. I smiled faintly and said, "You're saying I sent someone to kill you? Ms. Sterling, I was really wrong. Please don't kill me, okay?" Ashley didn't seem to understand what I was saying and was just reciting her lines. Her level was a little low. Fortunately, I also saw my company's employees filming in the crowd. So, I smiled and said, "Since you're saying I sent someone to kill you, let's call the police." "Huh?" Ashley was stunned. "What? Shouldn't you call the police if someone sent someone to kill you?" I asked again. Ashley looked up, unable to speak. I looked at the people filming in the crowd and said, "You few look suspicious. You must be people Ashley hired, right? In that case, don't leave. Wait for the police to come." Immediately, a few people tried to run, but the bodyguards behind me had already rushed out. They didn't hit anyone, but used their bodies to push the people back. Inside the building, the company's security guards also rushed out, surrounding those people. Murder. The Sterling Group is bullying people, bullying innocent citizens, not letting people tell the truth. Those people were playing dirty, directly acting like hooligans while still recording. But if they could record, so could we. And my bodyguards and the company's security guards were standing still with their hands behind their backs. Instead, those people wanted to break through them and even started hitting them first. They were trying to force the bodyguards and security guards to fight back. Unfortunately, my people were rigorously trained and wouldn't retaliate. And their actions were all being recorded. I continued, "I know there are definitely more people secretly filming. Whatever. You can post it online, but if you edit it and try to twist my words, I'll sue you." At that moment, someone brought out a chair for me. I sat down in front of Ashley. "What other tricks do you have to frame me?" "Use them all." "Ms. Sterling, I don't know what you're talking about." "I didn't want to frame you," Ashley protested loudly. "You're not going to say? Then I'll guess. You're definitely keeping a backup plan. If I'm not mistaken, Henry Hal Sullivan will be here soon, right? He'll come and see you kneeling in front of me, and then you'll act pitiful to make him disappointed in me, right?" I shook my head and smiled. "Okay, little sister, there's really no need for that, because I've already decided to divorce Hal. You can be a damsel in distress in peace in the future, but I also want to remind you that the Sullivan family won't choose you." At that moment, Hal really did push through the crowd and came to us. When he saw Ashley kneeling in front of me, his face was filled with heartache. He looked at me with great disappointment. "Sarah, I told you, Ashley and I don't have anything going on. Why do you have to be so excessive?" The expressions of the onlookers were priceless because it was just like what I had just said. And someone had already started a live stream, broadcasting everything from the beginning. At first, the live stream was saying that I was abusing my power, but now they were all cursing Ashley for being a green TB*TCH and saying Hal was brain dead. I glanced at Hal. "Hal, you've been through so much in the business world. Do you think I would cause trouble at my company's entrance? If it were you, Would you cause trouble at your company's entrance and cause controversy? Hal was stunned. I shook my head. I'm too lazy to say anything more because you'll be able to see the complete video soon, and the divorce agreement will be delivered to you this afternoon. With that, I got up to leave, telling my assistant, remember to sue Ashley for defamation. Without any evidence, she publicly said I sent someone to kill her, and it would definitely spread online. Hal wanted to catch up with me, but he hesitated for a moment and went to help Ashley up instead. I didn't look at them. There was no point. 6. Yesterday at the wedding reception, I told Play that this is not how you play the high society game, but she still played dirty with me, trying to pressure me online. How naive. And this video quickly went viral online. Some people were indeed twisting my words, so I immediately had my lawyer contact the platform to investigate those people's IP addresses. No matter who it was, if they wanted to mess with me, I would mess with them. And the police quickly arrived, taking Ashley and the people filming away. Of course, as long as those filming people insisted on not letting go, nothing would happen. As for Ashley saying I sent someone to kill her, that would require an investigation. And after those people filming were released, they even had a dinner together, and in their conversations, there was contempt for me, thinking I couldn't do anything to them. They were quite clever, and their words were very subtle, not leaving any evidence. But was that it? They all had relatives and friends, so I sent people to their workplaces and the workplaces of their relatives and friends, not to cause trouble, but simply to talk to their leaders, to the leaders of their relatives and friends. The general script was, so-and-so from your unit, his relative is spreading rumors outside, which isn't good for your unit or company. Saying it like that, the other party would automatically translate, if this can't be resolved, then we'll publicly question whether so-and-so from your unit is supporting someone. Then, those people were all taken care of within a day. They all reported to the Sullivan Group, but I was too lazy to see them. I told them to hand over the evidence of their collusion with Ashley, and then they could get lost. As it got dark, I prepared to go home. But my father-in-law called, saying he wanted to talk in person. I definitely had to talk to my in-laws about this in person. No matter what happened between Hal and me, the two elders had always been good to me. I went to my in-laws' house. As soon as I walked in, I smelled the aroma of braised beef, which was my father-in-law's specialty and my favorite dish. Every time I came, my father-in-law would make it in advance or make it and send it to me. My mother-in-law walked over, her eyes red, frowning as she said, "Sarah, you've been wronged, but you know Hal. He's the most self-disciplined. Give him a chance to explain." Okay, I nodded. Since my mother-in-law had said that, I had to show a certain attitude. But no matter what Hal explained, it had nothing to do with me. My decision wouldn't change. Before long, the food was ready. I sat down with my father-in-law. He didn't say anything, first pouring me a glass of wine, and we drank it together. Just as my father-in-law was about to speak, Hal returned, bringing Ashley with him. Ashley Carter was even carrying a bunch of health supplements, and said very politely, "Uncle and Auntie, I'm Ashley Carter, and I bought these for you." "Throw them away," my mother-in-law said with a cold face. My father-in-law didn't say anything, but his expression was even worse. The two elders had swallowed their pride to call me here, just to give him a chance to explain in person. But he brought Ashley Carter again. Was he brain dead? I almost laughed, and felt a bit of self-deprecating humor. I didn't expect to be outdone by someone like Ashley Carter. "Mom, don't be like this," Hal Sullivan frowned. He wanted to sit next to me, but Ashley Carter took the seat next to me first. Hal Sullivan was stunned and could only sit next to her. But at this point, he was already a little displeased. "Who told you to sit down?" my father-in-law asked. Ashley Carter said, feeling wronged, "Uncle, we're going to be family sooner or later. After all, Hal and I are truly in love, and what's done is done. You don't need to be like this." These words almost gave my in-laws a heart attack. Hal Sullivan's face was pale, and he looked at Ashley Carter in disbelief, unable to say a word. Ashley Carter said to me provocatively, Ms. Sterling, love can't be forced. I smiled, little girl, I told you a long time ago, the high society game isn't played like this. You're digging your own grave. Hal, she's scaring me, Ashley Carter said to Henry Hal Sullivan, looking aggrieved. Henry Hal Sullivan looked at her coldly, without saying a word. I leaned back in my chair and said, Hal and I got married without a foundation of love. He hadn't even been in love before, so I understand and support him having his heart flutter for someone else. I paused for a moment and said coldly to Ashley Carter, but I firmly believe in Hal's character. Before we divorce, he wouldn't even let you touch his hand. As soon as these words came out, Ashley Carter's face immediately turned ugly. As expected, I hit the nail on the head. Henry Hal Sullivan said to me, crying, Sarah, it's so good that you believe me. I believe you, but we still have to get a divorce, I said, shaking my head. Hal, you have to understand one thing. It's not just that you had a physical relationship with someone else that constitutes betrayal. Emotional cheating is also unforgivable. And your actions these days have torn our marriage apart. We're definitely getting a divorce. After saying that, I got up and said to my father-in-law, this little girl has brothers who probably have designs on the Sullivan family. If you can't handle it, call me. Gwen Ainsworth and I are still on good terms. Then call Gwen Ainsworth, my mother-in-law said preemptively. They were all thinking of murder. Even Henry Hal Sullivan didn't stop them. Henry Hal Sullivan got up and grabbed me, saying, Sarah, you don't know, don't say anything. We have to get a divorce. I waved my hand, and left straight away, with Henry Hal Sullivan's heart-wrenching cries behind me. 7. Ashley Carter, on the other hand, felt like she had one. She said to Henry Hal Sullivan urgently, Hal, she doesn't love you at all. After all, you don't have a foundation of love. I can feel how good you are to me, so why can't we be together? Do you really think you're someone? Henry Hal Sullivan wiped his tears, his expression extremely cold. He took out his phone, found a photo, and handed it to her, saying, open your damn eyes and look. Ashley Carter was stunned, then saw a girl in a white dress on the phone screen. She said in surprise, this looks like me, but not quite. That's Sarah Sterling. That's what she looked like as a teenager. The only reason I treat you specially is because you look like her. And I've never had any feelings for you. I haven't even emotionally cheated on Sarah Sterling. It's just that she's been getting colder and colder towards me, and I wanted to use you to provoke her. Henry Hal Sullivan squatted down and cried. My mother-in-law immediately hugged him. Henry Hal Sullivan said, Mom, I messed up. What am I going to do? My father-in-law laughed and pointed at Ashley Carter, saying, get out. Ashley Carter left the Sullivan family, at a loss. And she wouldn't know that Gwen Ainsworth, who had wanted to kill her for a long time, had already taken my call and was making arrangements. I went home and had the divorce papers sent over. But Henry Hal Sullivan wouldn't sign them, and even came directly to my house. After he came in, he begged my parents to take him to my room. I was sitting on the bed, planning to do some work before going to sleep. I was startled to see him come. Hal, don't make trouble. We're impossible, I said helplessly. Henry Hal Sullivan suddenly smiled and said, Sarah, judging from your reaction, you're not angry to protect the interests of the Sterling Sullivan families. You've fallen in love with me, haven't you? I sighed and said, we've been together for so many years, how could there be no feelings? It's just there's no passion, and I didn't even realize it myself. I understand. Henry Hal Sullivan nodded slowly, took out a knife from his bag, and put the tip of the knife against his neck, saying, Sarah, if you insist on getting a divorce, then I'll die for you to see. As he spoke, he actually pricked himself. I saw blood flowing down and felt my scalp tingle. Was this man crazy? Henry Hal Sullivan said, Sarah, you can stop me from killing myself now, but you can't stop me forever. As long as you divorce me, I'll die at any time. Please take care of my parents for me then. Are you sick? I shouted. Henry Hal Sullivan didn't say anything and didn't put down the knife. I knew he was a man of his word. Helplessly, he and I returned to our own home. But we slept in separate rooms. I told him that we didn't have to get a divorce, but he couldn't control me finding other men. And that night, I actually brought a few men home. I could see that he was very hurt, but I didn't care. And the next day, I even brought a newly debuted male celebrity home. To make Henry Hal Sullivan completely give up on me, I deliberately made loud noises that night. When Henry Hal Sullivan pushed the door open, I was pretending to sit in the male celebrity's arms. I just glanced at him lightly and said, "Don't want a divorce? Fine, I'll be like this for the rest of my life, bringing different men home every day." Henry Hal Sullivan covered his mouth and cried, gritting his teeth, "Don't get a divorce, because without you, I'll die." Then he left and even closed the door for me. Half a month later, I received a text from Gwen Ainsworth that Ashley Carter, who was overseas, was shot and killed by local thugs while picking up girls at a nightclub. But this didn't cause any emotional fluctuations for me, because I was going crazy. No matter how many men I brought home, Henry Hal Sullivan just wouldn't get a divorce. Even if I made very unreasonable demands, asking him to cook for those men, he would agree silently. Anyway, all he wanted now was to not get a divorce, and he would do anything. I really didn't know what to do, so I invited Richard Rich Lawson and Gwen Ainsworth out for dinner. The two of them got me half drunk first, and then started chatting. Gwen Ainsworth's attitude was very clear. "Sarah, sometimes it's not bad to be a little confused. And we know about Hal's feelings for you." "What feelings does he have for me?" "He doesn't want a divorce, he's just unwilling," I said speechlessly. Richard Rich Lawson was stunned for a moment, and then said, "Then you don't have to think about anything, just continue like this." I went home drunk, and Henry Hal Sullivan helped me into the bedroom. He helped me wipe my body, whispering in my ear, "The last time you were drunk, I helped you wipe like this, and then you got restless." Later, he said a lot more, and I heard some of it intermittently. "Sarah, you always say that we don't have a foundation of love, but you forgot that we were classmates from elementary school to high school. At that time, you would take me to and from school every day, although it was my parents who asked you to. But don't you think about why it had to be you? Actually, I knew that I was soft-natured, like a girl. Others disliked me, and you also disliked me, but only you protected me. And you don't know, someone was secretly looking at you every day at that time? That was me. I'm a person with some emotional problems. I don't know how to express my feelings, and I'm even afraid of you knowing." Later, I went to college abroad. Do you know what I was most afraid of? The most afraid of was finding out that you were married when I returned to the country. And do you know what made me the saddest? It was that I had been following you and found out that you changed boyfriends often. Fortunately, you weren't married when I returned to the country. I begged my parents to take the initiative to propose this marriage. We got married. Do you know how happy I was that night? Actually, I can also feel your kindness towards me, but I can also feel you getting more and more indifferent to me. Especially after you and Richard Rich Lawson developed the overseas market, you rarely chatted with me. And many men have sent me photos of you together. I know you wouldn't cheat, but I'm scared to death. Then I saw Ashley Carter. She looks like you when you were younger, very much like you, but I have no feelings for her, because she's all flash and no substance. I don't like women without depth. But I knew that if I used her to provoke you, maybe you would care about me more. But I didn't expect I would mess up, didn't expect you would want a divorce without even giving me a chance to explain." Henry Hal Sullivan said, then fell asleep on my chest. I woke up the next day, pushed him off, and left home. As before, I would bring men home from time to time, and he seemed to have become numb to it. I always wondered if what I heard that night was my dream or what he said. Until 3 months later, I was pregnant. He didn't make any demands, and I still went my own way. However, he was a little more concerned about me, but I still didn't know how to deal with my feelings for him. But after all, I was carrying his child. What else could I do? Those men I brought back were just props. I didn't touch any of them. But that day I got drunk, and Henry Hal Sullivan took advantage of me again. What a sin.